Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. We are uh, assembling after another meeting of the emergency operation team here as we try to really understand this storm that has been proven to be most unpredictable. And let me just say, this storm system has been a real challenge for all of us, and I know it's created a lot of disruption to families and businesses, and we appreciate everyone's patience as we try to make the best sense of a system that really has shown patterns that have been very difficult to forecast, quite frankly. So we're doing all we can to make sure that Jacksonville's being precautious, exercising precaution, and doing what we can to keep our citizens safe. But this has been a tough one. This storm has defied most odds as we know it. The storm last night was primarily stationary, showed very little movement, and this morning showed very little movement. And that, of course, has disrupted our time frame of when we think we will experience the impacts. We think still the worst of this storm has yet to come, and we've been saying that for days. But the truth of the matter, the outer bands of this storm system continue to come in. And now that this storm is showing forward motion really to the west and north, we think we're going to be seeing a great deal of rain, a lot of flooding, and of course high winds. Again, this storm is so unpredictable, though. There are no absolutes, so we try to take the most precautious stance that we can to keep our citizens safe. High tide was at noon today, and we'll have another high tide around midnight tonight. You can expect the flooding to be exaggerated during those periods. We continue as a city to do all we can to respond, and I will tell you we've been doing a pretty good job responding. We haven't been overwhelmed. We've had 24 crews out basically from Public Works clearing storm basins, catch basins, and all those outfalls that are critical to drainage in the city. We've also had about 20 crews clearing debris, and they've been able to respond as citizens call 630 City, reporting down limbs and things of this nature. They've been really able to respond. We expect that the calls and, of course, the experiences will be magnified in the coming hours as we experience more wind and rain than we've seen already. We have over 300 people sheltered now in 6 general population shelters, so there are folks taking advantage of cover through the wind and rain. And I will tell you, JEA is doing a phenomenal job to date responding. Now, that's not to say they will be able to keep up the volume should we have the winds that we're anticipating and the rainfall that we're anticipating in the coming hours. But to date, we've had over 20,000 people who have been restored already in light of this storm. Garbage pickup. We still don't want garbage cans out in high winds, and knowing when that will be is very difficult. So as of now, we're going to postpone a garbage schedule until 6 o'clock this evening. We really don't want people to put their cans and their garbage out on the street if we're still anticipating high winds, and we still don't know when this storm is going to pass and move beyond us. We encourage, everyone to stay vigilant, pay attention, and again, recognize that we still think we have more weather to come. This has been, again, a challenging system. Forecasting it has been difficult. We make our decisions based on the National Weather Service, which is our source of information, and we try to take those actions that reflect the apparent dangers associated with the storm as we know it. So we certainly appreciate their help. At this time, I'll invite Ed Pratt-Daniels with the school system to talk about school closures, and following him will be the sheriff to give us safety tips, and we'll answer any questions after that point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Peyton. Based on the slow-moving nature of the storm and the fact that it looked like we're still going to experience the bulk of the wind and rain through this afternoon and perhaps into midday tomorrow, we are going to postpone school tomorrow. We are awaiting a decision as far as whether or not our 12-month personnel will be coming in, and we'll be announcing that at 6 o'clock in conjunction with the mayor and other groups to make sure that our personnel are safe. But if we're able to bring them in, we will. And again, we'll have that announcement at 6. But again, all Duval County Public Schools will be closed tomorrow with further update on staff at another time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Superintendent. I want to, again, caution everyone about traffic hazards and some general hazards that we may experience as this storm does move into our area of the state. Some of the traffic hazards, obviously, we've been out there monitoring those bridges, again, with those handheld devices, and when we get those 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds, we will close those bridges down temporarily because we will monitor them about every 10 minutes because sometimes as these bands come through, we don't need to shut it down completely, but just temporarily. In addition to that, again, I want to caution drivers who have to go out. Do not drive through standing water do not drive around barricades that we may have put up to block roads that are flooded. I can tell you currently at this time we don't have any roads that are closed due to flooding, but we do have a few roads out there that have been closed as a result of wires down. In addition to that, there may be debris that's blown into the roadways, trees that fall across the road. We have 20 teams out there working with Public Works, JEA, and the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office going out and doing cut and toss and getting those roads open so emergency vehicles will have access. In addition to that, when the high winds do come, we can anticipate traffic signals going out. Again, those teams will be responding and restoring those traffic signals as quickly as possible. However, until they are restored, drivers are cautioned to treat those as a four-way stop when you approach one of those intersections. And just for a general hazard cautionary point, if you do see wires down, understand that you don't have to touch the wire to be in danger. If that wire is laying in a puddle and you're standing in that puddle, you're in danger. If that wire is laying across a chain link fence and you're a half a block away and you touch that fence, you could be in danger. So call those in to 630 City or call them in our 911 number immediately. Also, if you should experience a power outage and you do use generators at home, please be sure that the generator is properly ventilated so that you don't experience hazards from the carbon monoxide. And finally, if you have trees down in your yard, across your driveway, and leading into your house, if you do go to cut those with power tools, be cautious and use those properly. So with that, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I'm going to invite Jim Dickinson with the JEA to make a few comments. Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, the Mayor's already stated that we estimate we've had about 20,000 customers that have had an outage because of over the last 2 days with the storm that we have already gotten back in. Now, some of those customers might have gone back out. We just have a storm that's staying with us, and so we'll experience outages. We'll get some of those customers back in. We will continue to work as long as the winds don't get above 35 miles an hour. Our crews, we have about 400 electric personnel out in the field working. We have about 250 water and sewer personnel out in the field working, making sure that our sewer systems remain working and continue to flow. But on the electric side, we want to make sure we can deal with these outages. As I walked over here, we had about 3,000 customers out. Currently, we have about 15,000 customers out. That'll change as these bands of rain and wind come through. So we'll continue to work those outages and get customers back in. But as we've been told that we can expect to experience a little more wind the rest of the day and maybe a little into the night, it's going to get worse than that. So we will experience more outages, but we'll keep working as long as the winds don't get above 35 miles an hour. And then we'll have a contingency. We just won't work during the night if the winds are that high, and we'll come back at daybreak and begin to work and restore.
Do you want people to call about those outages?
Yes, currently, just customers continue to call until we make an announcement that a call really doesn't do us any good. And that would be a great number of outages, and we'll let you know at that time. But at this time, call. We just ask you to call. We won't have our normal response time where you may, if there was not this kind of a storm going on, you may call and we can get an outage restored in an hour and a half to 2 hours. Just don't expect that at this time, but you can still call, and we'll log that into our system. We'll let you know through the media if a call really doesn't do any good. Call our number, which is 665-6000. That's the outage. And you can also go on the website, and you can log that outage in on the website. Of course, if you don't have power, that's going to be hard for you to do. So.
It's sounding like you have 18,000 out was what I counted there from those numbers?
No, it was 15,000. When I walked over here, there were 3,000 out. Our system tells us currently how many accounts we have out. What it doesn't tell us is how many we've had out and then restored and had out and restored. We can estimate that. That's the 20,000 number I think we've dealt with over the last 2 days, but it only tells us the current number of customers. And I just told you that because of how quickly it can change. In an hour's time, it changed from 3,000 to 15,000, and we'll work that down. But if more wind comes and more trees down, then that number will grow.
You gave some interesting information yesterday about generators that are on when power crews are in the area. You need to know about that. Can you describe that again?
Well, power crews, our crews will, before they start working on a line, they'll test the line to make sure it's out of power. There's no power there because it's a danger to them. It's a safety piece. But if there's a generator working, a generator can actually backfeed into our line. Now, our crews will listen to hear if generators work, and they'll also test it. But it's a good thing if you see JEA crews working in the area, good thing to go out and let them know that you have a generator. What they'll actually do is they'll actually switch you off of the electrical system, which is not working for you anyway, but they'll throw a little switch near your house, and it'll isolate you, and then they'll put that back in once they get the line in. It's just a protection for our workers.
Mayor, can we ask you a couple of questions?
Sure.
Basically, you had mentioned you're waiting for city services, but
All right.
any city services canceled for tomorrow?
Yeah, we're gonna make a decision before 6 o'clock this evening on whether government offices and government employees will be functional tomorrow. Schools are closed, but there's a decision based on JTA service, government offices, and also 12-month employees of the Duval County School Board system. So those will be held probably around 6 o'clock this afternoon. And again, we're waiting to see what kind of movement the storm has. If this storm continues to stall like we've seen, we're not out of the woods yet. So hopefully it'll start moving as we've seen recently, and it'll keep moving, and we will resume back to a normal life here in Jacksonville, Florida. But we're not there yet, and until we have more certainty, we're not ready to make that decision.
Mayor, how long would you actually stay in this holding pattern with the storm the way it is? How long will you keep things the way they are?
Really depends on the storm conditions, and of course our decisions are based on really the impact of the wind, likelihood for power outages, flooding, and of course this system, the longer it stalls, unfortunately, the more we're put into a place of indecision. So we're really just following the National Weather Service and watching the conditions. Right now we're expecting the conditions to deteriorate. We think it'll get worse before it gets better. We think the worst weather is in front of us, so we still just are vigilant and we'll wait and see.
Still looking between 5 and 10 inches. Is that the information that y'all are basing your?
The information we're getting now, this storm has dropped record rainfall to biblical proportions almost. Melbourne is reporting, close to 30 inches from what I understand over the life of this storm. So this storm has enormous capacity. Whether we actually receive it or not has yet to be seen. We know that over the water in the Atlantic Ocean there's been a tremendous amount of rain dumped. Whether it'll make its way over this way, we don't know, and that's why we continue, like we've really been for the past few days, in kind of a state of flux, trying to understand a storm that really is not easy to predict.
I know Michael Blaylock from JTA is here. Can you describe what's going on if people need to go to a shelter with 300 people already there, probably more people are planning to go later? Is there transportation to the shelters?
Yes, that service is still available.
What do they do?
Well, they call the EOC. We'll make it. They have a main number here in the city, 630 city. Call here, and then we will provide for transportation. We still are operational for emergency transport. That is still occurring. We have also made a decision for those persons that will be attending needing care for dialysis treatment tomorrow. We've been advised by Shands Hospital that they will be operating, so we will provide that service as well. We have not made any decisions for the regular transit system. We'll know that by 6 o'clock this afternoon.
Again, I want to thank everyone at the Emergency Operations Center and all the department heads, JTA, our City Council President, Ronnie Fussell, who's been by my side, Jim Dickinson, our Sheriff, Marty Centerfit, our Chief of Emergency Operations. We've had a great team here. A lot of folks have been very responsive, put in a lot of hours to try to keep our community safe, and we appreciate their efforts. I'll be happy to answer any other questions. If not, thank you all for being here. We'll be back